Dear viewers, thank you for joining us. You're watching our weekly program, Talk to OBN, on your favorite media channel, OBN Horn of Africa. In this edition, we'll be discussing about the bilateral ties between the State of Israel and Ethiopia. My guest today is Deputy Ambassador of Israel Embassy to Ethiopia, Ambassador Tomer Bar-Lavi. Thank you for your precious time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Well, to begin with, Israel had an attack from the side of Hamas on October 7, 2023. I wanted to ask you to tell us the gesture of Israel after that attack.
So, unfortunately, on October 7th, 2023, Israel was invaded by a terrorist army. Thousands of Hamas terrorists crossed the border from Gaza through air, land, and sea. They came into Israel, into our territory, and massacred our people. They went into villages, into small towns, into cities. They went to a music festival that was happening on the border, and they killed 1,200 people. They raped women, murdered children, and they took also 251 hostages into Gaza. Now, as a result of this, Israel was pulled into a war which we did not want and we did not start. We had no desire to spend the last 2 years fighting a war in the Gaza Strip. However, due to this horrific attack, we had to defend our people and to get our hostages back and to destroy the threat that had emerged on our border. This led to 2 years of very difficult fighting in the Gaza Strip against terrorists who hide in urban areas behind women and children, in tunnels, hundreds of kilometers of tunnels underneath the urban landscape of the Gaza Strip. Even just yesterday, we uncovered a 7-kilometer long tunnel in which some of the hostages had been held, a place deep underground, under a built area, and next to UN institutions. You know, they use everything as cover, and that's a war crime. And so our battle was difficult, and it finally, 2 months ago, we received all of our living hostages back, thanks to a deal brokered by the US administration, President Trump. And now we're waiting to get the final one remaining hostage body that's still being held, deceased hostage Ran Gvili. He's being held by Hamas still, and that's why I still have this pin over here. Once his body will be released for proper burial in Israel, then we will take off these yellow pins that we're always wearing. And then we'll go to the next stage of the ceasefire, which is disarming the Hamas terrorist organization. So we've had these two main pillars of our conflict with Hamas. Of course, later we may talk about also the other fronts that we had in this war. But in our battle with Hamas, we have two main pillars that we need to achieve, two main goals. The first one is the return of all of the hostages, living and deceased. The second is the disarmament of Hamas and replacement by a different governing body in the Gaza Strip.
Okay, can we exactly say Israel is free from any threat, especially from Hezbollah and Hamas nowadays?
So it's a good question. You know, we can't, it's not a black and white situation. Let's say in Gaza, the threat from Hamas is much lower than it was in the past, and definitely than it was 2 years ago, but even 6 months ago. And that's why we're hoping that the diplomatic effort will succeed in disarming the organization and removing the threat in Gaza. If we go up north to Lebanon, on the border with Lebanon, of course, we faced a different challenge with the Hezbollah organization, terrorist organization that has been there for about 4 decades. and has created a state within a state in southern Lebanon. Until this war, they held a full monopoly of power in terms of weapons in Lebanon, even more than the Lebanese military. Thankfully, so during this war, they opened another front against Israel. We fought also against Hezbollah. We were able to reduce, to decimate their leadership and also to destroy many of their weapons. And yet, it wasn't fully destroyed, so we reached some sort of a ceasefire situation in Lebanon. And part of this process is also the continuous disarmament of Hezbollah. So we see that the Lebanese leadership, the government, has been trying to disarm Hezbollah with U.S. support and international coordination. And we still see that even as they are showing some seriousness on this issue, Hezbollah still is there, they still have weapons, and they are still capable of attacking Israel. So we will not agree to having this terrorist militia on our northern border either.
Deputy Ambassador, the stories come from the Middle East, has got two faces. Like some say Israel is a genocider, apartheid state, expansionist, and those who stand with the Arab media say like that. And Israel has done a counter attack for a bad deed comes from the Hamas side. What's your stand?
So, of course, our enemies and our adversaries will always try to use the most extreme language and attacks against our country, against our people. They use all these buzzwords, if you call it genocide, apartheid, colonizers, all of these different things. You can hear it all about Israel. And that doesn't make it true. They use hyperbole in order to try and get more people to their side and to cause, the public diplomacy aspect of this situation to be on their side, which I must say, they have been succeeding quite well in their battle. But Israel, we are resilient as a country and as a people, and we continue to release the truth, as we see it and as our reality in Israel shows. Israel is a democratic state. Modern Israel, it's the nation state of the Jewish people, of the people of Israel. However, we have minorities. 20% of our country are Arab citizens who enjoy full equal rights. We have members of our Knesset, of our parliament, who are from the Arab community. We have military generals and leaders who are from our minority communities. We have judges. They're fully integrated into society, and they live as citizens of a democratic state. Now, if you look at the situation over the last couple of years with the war, where you've heard all of this vitriol about Israel committing different crimes, you need to look at the situation. As I mentioned earlier, you have a terrorist army of tens of thousands of terrorists hiding in kindergartens, underneath hospitals, in schools, in places of worship. These people who claim to be representatives of Islam, one of the great religions of the world, they are actually using mosques to hide weapons, also to shoot from these mosques. It's horrific. They're putting their own people, their own civilians, in harm. And these are war crimes. They need to be called out for what they are. And so Israel has been defending itself against this kind of threat and these kinds of actors. And if you really look at the numbers, it's a very difficult battle that has been waged, and yet quite a high percentage of those that were that suffered on the Palestinian side in Gaza were actually combatants or somehow related to the Hamas combatant infrastructure. So Israel has been in almost impossible conditions and yet has been conducting its battle according to the principles of international law with proportionality and also targeting only military sites. And again, I must say, Hamas and Islamic Jihad and these other organizations, they often turn civilian sites into military sites by firing from them and by using them as their terrorist bases.
Well, Ambassador, Israel is requesting Hamas to give back those 3 deceased bodies. Can you tell us the status again?
Yes, so actually, by now already, we just are left with only one. There's one body that's being held of one of our hostages by Hamas. His name is Ran Gvili, and he was a young man who was kidnapped, and his family is still waiting for his body to return so they can bury him and have close this horrific time of the last 2 years. Efforts are continuing to be made, and we of course appreciate the United States and their active role in trying to resolve the conflict and trying to and working with the different partners and different actors in order to pressure Hamas to return this final body as well. And then we will be done with the first stage of what hopefully will turn into a better future for our region.
Again, journalists drawn from public and private media have gone to Israel, including myself. And as an ambassador, you were one of the decision makers. What was your intention to send these journalists to report stories from the ground? So
you were in Israel, and I think and you've seen things, both the political side, also the cultural, religious, society, history, and a lot of these. Seeing things firsthand is always different. It's always different from what you hear in the media, from hearsay, and especially when a lot of the media being fed to us, whether it's from established outlets around the world, some of whom are hostile to Israel, or whether it's from social media, from different influencers, or also people who are adversarial to Israel, its position, its existence even. So we wanted the top media professionals in Ethiopia from different outlets, government and private, press, radio, television, all of them, as many as possible, to see firsthand with their own 2 eyes how Israel looks, what is going on in Israel, to hear from Israelis about their situation, whether it's government officials and whether it's private citizens. We thought it's important because once you have that context in your mind, it will also maybe cause you sometimes to think twice about what you're hearing from other outlets. And one other important thing that's the media provides a window to the people. So the people of Ethiopia, when they watch the media, listen to the media, read the media, it's influencing how they're thinking. And we've seen, unfortunately, that even in Ethiopia, a very friendly country who has very strong people-to-people relations with Israel, even here, there have been different narratives that have been seeping in from other external actors, let's say, from some of Israel's enemies who are using the media to influence the population, to make them more hostile to Israel as a country, as a people, and this is a worrying trend. And so we are working to combat this trend both through the traditional channels and through social media by having an open line with the people of Ethiopia, with the viewers, with the citizens, and we feel that it's important for media outlets in Ethiopia to be able to reflect what's going on also from the Israeli perspective, not only from the perspective of our adversaries who have a large voice in the international media. So that's why we made an effort to expose the participants of this visit to personally go to the different border regions, to understand the threats that Israel has been facing, to speak with some officials, also to be exposed to Israeli media, because when Ethiopian media outlets, for example, are using, they're giving information about something going on in the Middle East, sometimes they use certain outlets coming from the region, from other countries, whose perspective is very adversarial and hostile to Israel. We need to balance that by also using Israeli sources. And these are some of the things that we felt it was important for the Ethiopian media to experience firsthand.
We've noted that Israel is a resilient nation, having war at hand at one hand and still progressing with its economy. And we have attended a presentation from scholars out there. Is it possible to undertake this severe attack that was attempted by Hamas and in the meantime progressing on the same routine path?
Well, it's very interesting what you just brought up, because resilience is a part of the story of our nation in modern times and also in ancient times. As Ethiopia is also an ancient civilization that has gone through many changes and many developments and many historical incidents. Israel, we've been around as a people for about 3,500 years. And by some estimates, closer to 4,000, if you count, let's say, from Abraham time. But during those years, we've undergone many conflicts, many. Our country was destroyed twice. Our sovereignty was destroyed in the more ancient times. We were exiled from our land by the Babylonians. Then we came back. Then we were exiled again by the Romans almost 2,000 years ago. And we had to adapt to living in the diaspora, adapt to really having a very small presence in our homeland, and most of our people were dispersed, including here in Ethiopia, including in parts of Europe, Middle East, North Africa, Asia, later on in the Americas. And finally, about 120 years ago, a movement came up, the Zionist movement, which the Jewish people, the people of Israel, decided that we have had enough of living in the diaspora. We want to go back to our own homeland. This is something which we had always dreamed of, we had always prayed for, and now we were putting this into practice. And so the movement began. Unfortunately, it didn't succeed before the Holocaust. The Holocaust, which was the genocide of our people. 6 million of our people were murdered in Europe just because of their identity. It finished, the Holocaust was about 80 years ago when the last camps were liberated. And only 3 years after that was our modern state reestablished. And so we've learned our lessons from the past, from our history, and we know that in order to survive, we need to be strong, we need to be resilient. We also need to know how to adapt and how to innovate. And I think you've seen this also in the last 2 years, because our country has been under a lot of pressure, internally, internationally, and yet our people are continuing to thrive. Our economy has been damaged, but not to the extent that we had expected. Our innovation ecosystem continues to bloom. And now with the ceasefire, we're going back to doing what we do best, which is to innovate, to move forward, to think about the future, not be stuck in the past. We can't forget the past, but we need to also think about the future. And these are some of the ideas about maybe why Israel is a resilient country.
Excellent. Well, Ethiopia is an all-weather friend of Israel, and we can mention so many things. These two people have got historical ties. We can mention the Ethiopian Jew community. Still, they have got a wonderful place in Israel's politics. We can mention the Knesset members. Three members of the parliament are Ethiopian origins. Talking about the bilateral ties, specifically Ethiopia and Israel shares many things. How do you see the current status of these bilateral ties?
So, as you mentioned, and you stated very well, very correctly, Israel and Ethiopia have a long-standing, ongoing, and very unique relationship. Whether, as you mentioned, based on the existence of the Ethiopian Jewish community, the Beta Israel community, which almost all of them live in Israel now. That's a human bridge in our modern days. Whether it's the other aspects of the relationship, for example, the existence of Ethiopian churches and monasteries from the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church in Israel, in the land of Israel. Whether it's the whole story, of Ethiopian civilization and the connection between King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, whether it's modern connections of cooperation in agriculture, in innovation, in medicine, in security, in all of these different aspects where we have a very good and strong relationship. I think you've seen that in the last year or so, our relationship has gotten even stronger publicly, let's say. We've had some high-level visits from both sides. In March, we had the Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, His Excellency Dr. Gideon, visited Israel with a delegation in March. Then in May, our Foreign Minister, His Excellency Mr. Gideon also, Gideon Sar, he also visited Ethiopia with the two Gideons. So it's a very special and unique relationship, and I think the fact that both of our foreign ministers are named Gideon, it's not an accident, because it also emphasizes the kind of biblical connection between the people of Ethiopia and the people of Israel. And so high-level visits is one thing. There's also economic delegations, the business forum, which was held in May. Just this week we had two senior experts from Israel here. They're experts in Industry 4.0. Yesterday they conducted a seminar for over 60 representatives of some of the biggest companies in Ethiopia in the fields of industry and in the fields of manufacturing, both state-owned enterprises and private. And the list goes on. There's so many collaborations, and we're trying to work to make them stronger, to increase the number of such collaborations.
Yes, can you mention those areas of cooperation between two nations?
Of course. So the classic one is agriculture. Ethiopia relies a lot on agriculture as an economic sector, leading this country. There's so much arable land and there's so many different crops that can be grown here. So Israeli agricultural technologies have been implemented here in Ethiopia, and we're continuing to bring them, whether it's drip irrigation in the drier areas, whether it's high-quality seeds that are resilient to different diseases that exist for plants, whether it's tissue cultures for other types of bananas or fruits. And there's a number of such different subsectors within agriculture. We have also Israeli investors investing in the agriculture sector here, including some of the big, most high-tech agri companies in Ethiopia. That's one sector. We also have medicine. In medicine and health, we have we'll say the non-profit sector or the development side of things, where Israeli doctors come to Ethiopia whether sent by the government or by private initiatives, to conduct operations, to do capacity building, and to train Ethiopian doctors in cardiology, in ophthalmology for eyes, in surgery, and other fields. We have Ethiopian doctors coming to Israel for the training as well. We just had a senior cardiologist after, I think, close to 5 years in Israel. Now he came back to Ethiopia. He'll be one of the few experts on pediatric cardiology in Ethiopia. Aside from the health sector, we also have innovation. Innovation is a big word. It means many things, but we are collaborating with Ethiopia in a number of different ways to promote the development of the innovation ecosystem here. It means promoting startups, helping different government and non-government bodies to be able to nurture these startups, to give, whether it's small grants or different other kinds of training for these bright ideas to turn into successful companies. And these are just a few of the sectors. There's also others. There's some manufacturing, some textile, some security, and different things that can be spoken about at length in a longer interview.
Yeah, Ethiopia is undertaking a very massive reforms lately, and we can mention the economic reforms, the political reforms, and the ongoing initiatives, be it Green Legacy and the massive agricultural workers, especially on the wheat cluster farming. How the state of Israel perceive all this progress of the nation of Ethiopia?
So first of all, it's very impressive what's going on in Ethiopia, I think, on the economic front. We see that the government is very much minded to economic development, to opening the market, to bringing in some of the top talent also, I think, from the Ethiopian diaspora. We've seen people who have worked for years in the United States or other countries are being brought back to help and spur this development. Just the other week, there was the Capital Markets Authority had its annual summit. We were there, and it was very impressive as well. So we see these changes going on. You see also the development of the cities and what's happening here in Addis Ababa. I came just about 2.5 years ago to begin my mission here in Ethiopia, and just in these 2.5 years, this Addis Ababa has completely changed. So we're seeing all of these massive changes going on. We know that Israelis want to be a part of these changes. They want to invest, and they want to build more partnerships on the economic front. What we do need to see is a stable and a good environment for such investments to succeed. We've had a number of Israeli companies here. Many of them are very successful. Some have faced some challenges, but we're working on that together with the Ethiopian side to help and make sure that the future investments are successful and that it's a good partnership between both sides. So again, this is something that we are working on, working to support these reforms and these changes. And I think our recent activity has shown that the embassy is also very active on this, including our workshop from yesterday.
Tomer Bar-Lavi, Deputy Ambassador of Israel Embassy to Ethiopia, thank you for your precious insight on the current matter, especially in the Middle East and Israel's bilateral ties.
Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure and an honor to be here with you.
Appreciate it. Dear viewers, this brings to the end of our edition for today. See you next time with another edition. Bye-bye. Take care.